Hello everyone, I am Trevor, I go by TheMrTrails, welcome to the channel. So I wanted to make a video today talking about some of the things that have happened in the past few weeks in Dauntless Trials, because I feel like they bring up some good discussion points. Drop a like, subscribe if you're new, let's get into it. While I'm not huge on actually playing Trials myself at this point, I still like to talk about them, especially when weird things are going on with them. One of these weird things happened on Pangar Trials. Now the times on Pangar Trials are usually pretty quick, but there was a bug discovered that made them incredibly quick. This bug was partially caused by the new cell, Aegis, giving you bonus shields from all sources. This alone doesn't do all that much, but the one thing that broke this for Trials was actually Guardian of all things. The two shield sources in the game that previously didn't have a cap on how many shields you could have was Guardian and Cascade. However, fun fact, Cascade orbs don't spawn on the Trials platform, so this didn't matter in Trials before. But because Guardian was uncapped and Bastion allows you to get rid of your shields, you can get rid of your shields when you're full to continue to give shields to your teammates with Guardian. So in the most unbelievably boring trial strategy of all time, you would queue up a hunt with all squad members using Bastion and Skarn Lantern. All but one member of the squad would be using the Bastion Slam to get rid of their shields to continue stacking Guardian onto one player. And once that one player had enough shields, they would go in and slam Pangar for 1,000,000 damage and the fight is already over. You can't do this anymore, by the way, because they placed a shield cap on Guardian and Cascade in the last patch. The one key discussion question I want to raise from this: is this the most broken Trials bug of all time? Because I would say so. The one argument against it is that you can't do it in solos because you need a teammate. But literally no other circumstance has let you one-shot a behemoth in the Trials arena. If you're around for the Sword Overdrive bug with infinite attack speed, you might say that, but you did at least have to fight the behemoth for 10 seconds. I think the only other bug that kind of compared to how fast this one-shot slamming could be was when the Thrax ability first came out. There wasn't anything stopping you from entering the arena from the side, so you could teleport over to the island and with some careful parkour and positioning get into a location where you could throw your axe at the behemoth. It wouldn't start the timer and you would be able to do damage to it, so you could sit there throwing your axe all day until it was low enough, re-enter the arena normally, and kill it. This probably could have been the first negative time in history, if they were able to get the part focus just right so they'd break parts once they started the timer. Both of these bugs required really long setup times, sure, but they did get you a ridiculous time for doing so. As far as the Bastion bug is concerned, quite a few people did it, but I have to imagine that anyone involved knew their times were going to be deleted. But another thing happened on the leaderboards in the past week that also called for a time to be deleted. Now I'll be honest, this guy probably could have gotten away with this if it weren't for him sharing info about his run on the Dauntless Discord server. Against Shadowtouch Drask, there was a Revenant striker time that cracked the top 10. With no other information, you probably wouldn't think a ton of that because Revenant is the second strongest Omnicell and can sometimes be better than Discipline. However, there were several things that made this a massive red flag. The first of which was the build that he was using. He shared the build in Discord, and no matter how you put it, this didn't make sense to run. Rage Hunter is a pretty mediocre cell these days. You've got way better options. And to willingly max out Rage Hunter, but not max out Cunning, is a very, very weird choice. One of the funniest things here to me was that only one piece of his gear was power surged, meaning he was obviously somewhat of a new player. And the more you looked into this situation, the more suspicious it got. While you may have thought Revenant could possibly achieve the time, there was no way that this specific build was going to be able to achieve the time legitimately, especially when the person using it was obviously not a hardened Trials veteran, but seemingly a rather new player to Trials at least. Digging deeper into their message history, not only did they trade out their Blitz tonics for damage pylons, which is something you would never do in a legitimate run, but they even asked for help understanding things about Trials in the Discord in that same week. So with all of the sussy information that we had, I hopped onto the test server to see if this time was even remotely possible with this build. And on the test server, I'm able to just freeze the AI and wail on the behemoth. They were using Rage Hunter, I swapped it out for Endurance, partially because the AI freeze stops and rages from happening, but also it's just better choice in general. And with this better choice, the lowest time I was able to get with this specific build was about 128 or so. So out of curiosity, I started using a weapon damage multiplier to see how ridiculous the time was. And I found that once I had multiplied my damage by 1.25, I was finally able to tie this time. So I was like, alright, what's actually going on here? There has to be some sort of bug that either this guy doesn't know he's using or is intentionally abusing. And considering that he was getting rid of his attack speed tonic in some of these runs, I figured it had to do something with Revenant. But sure enough, later in that same day, Phoenix Labs checked the run and there sure enough was suspicious stuff going on. But they ended up suspending his account for this, and at the time I thought this was personally a little bit much. Were they doing the exploit on purpose? Yes, but honestly this is partially Phoenix Labs' fault that this was even possible. He wasn't cheating, but he was doing something specific that they had already been told could be an issue, and they have been really bad about fixing bugs related to those kind of issues in the past. But apparently the guy hasn't stopped after he got suspended, and he's starting to do this on alt accounts now, which at that point, if he is using alt accounts, then it's like, okay, you can ban the guy. Not 100% sure if it was that same person, but potentially is. But one of the main things you might be confused about is that this time was never number 1 on the leaderboard, so how could it be not legitimate? But any time that was above this one was using Discipline, and let me explain why Discipline is better on Shadow Touch Drask specifically. The main reason is that it's going to be doing a lot of attacks throughout the fight, meaning you're easily able to get the Discipline stacks you need, and because it has a pretty decent amount of HP, you will be able to get into Discipline state after enough stacks. Any trial where you will be entering the Discipline state for an extended period of time, Discipline is going to be leagues better than Revenant. The main thing I wanted to get out of talking about this is a lesson that even if a time isn't number 1 on the leaderboard, that doesn't necessarily mean it's completely legit, especially not when last year we had 3 cheaters on the same week, especially when you don't recognize the name of the player having been around for a while. But with that, there's kind of a possibility they changed their name or something, but usually players who get to the top of the leaderboard legitimately will post their trial runs on YouTube anyway. But that's it for this video, pretty much just more of a discussion video. Let me know down below in the comments what you think the most broken Trials bug of all time was, or perhaps what the most fun one was. And once again, consider dropping a like for me and subscribing to the channel. Both of those things are free and they help me out tremendously. But I've been Trevor, I go by the Mr. Trails, and I will catch you guys next time.